Good morning, children. Welcome to sociology class. Today we'll be studying part 3 of chapter culture. In this part we'll be studying about folkways and mores. These folkways and mores are the parts of culture of any place. So let us begin with folkways. What is the meaning of folkways, or what are the folkways? The term folkways was introduced into sociological literature by W.G. Sumner in a book entitled Folkways. He used the term in a comprehensive sense. These folkways are the like products of natural forces which men unconsciously set in operation, or they are like the instinctive ways of animals which are developed out of experience. We can define the term folkways like this. Folkways are behavior patterns of everyday life which generally arise unconsciously in a group. I repeat it again. Folkways are behavior patterns of everyday life which generally arise unconsciously in a group. Everyday behaviors of man follow a pattern which is socially accepted and recognized. If someone does not follow the folkways, he faces some problems like gossip, ridicule or mockery. Then ostracism means rejection from the group. These are relatively durable standardized practices regarded as obligatory in the proper situation. The folkways, which are repeatedly used, gradually become habits. These folkways include brushing of teeth, selecting food for the lunch and dinner, wearing particular clothes on particular occasions, etc. In Indian society, it is almost obligatory for everyone to wash the hands after taking any kind of food. It is a folkway. If someone does not do it, even after taking food with a spoon, the people will look at him as he does not have the sense of hygiene. But if one ignores others and does not wash his hands, no serious punishment will be given to him. So there is no punishment, there is no reward. It is just observed. The folkways are followed by the people, though there is hardly any strict sanction against it. If the same person violates more than one folkways repeatedly, the person can be identified and socially criticized, and often given some mild social punishments like avoidance, ridicule, means the people make fun of him. Generally, such punishments are given by the social group in which the person belongs. Thus, if a girl comes back home late at night in a suburban town in India, the neighbors may criticize, but if the same thing happens in a metropolitan apartment, the chances of criticism becomes very limited. So it differs from society to society. So we have seen that what are the folkways? These folkways are everyday behavior patterns which arise unconsciously. I have given you some examples of folkways. Now let us discuss some of the features of folkways. First one is folkways are social in nature. If an individual is to be integrated as a part of his immediate society, he has to follow the folkways. If we want to be a part of that same group, you have to follow the folkways. Men develop certain common social habits which help them to maintain an order in the society. Thus, folkways are essentially social in nature. They make a man social. Second is, folkways are repetitive in character. Folkways can never be made by conscious effort. They grow as people practice them regularly and also repeatedly. As people see such behaviors around them, they follow. Whatever they see that their parents are doing, their elders are doing, they start following it and internalize them. If some members of society repeatedly practice a behavior, it spontaneously becomes a part of life. Third is, folkways originate spontaneously and without any conscious planning. Though folkways are originated and developed by the people of society, no specific group takes a conscious and planned initiative to introduce a new folkway. Someone in a group may start using a language or a gesture, and gradually it becomes a folkway for all group members. It takes a long time to be established as a folkway, and when it takes the final shape, nobody can identify who the founder is. Each society has its own way of greeting each other, and no one knows who for the first time used that particular gesture. In Indian society, our common gesture was to join the hands, but in recent years, mostly people raise a hand and smile at each other. It is gradually being incorporated in Indian society as a folkway, but no one can be identified as an individual who has changed the previous way of greeting each other. So we have seen that it is started by someone and soon it becomes the part of the whole society. Then fourth is, folkways are enforced informally. Folkways are performed and followed by people without any formal instruction from any individual. Nobody gives you any instruction regarding this, and there is no compulsion or obligation to follow folkways. But people know that if they do not respect the folkways, they will be socially rejected. But there is no formal punishment for disobeying these folkways. For example, if a person wears a gorgeous dress and attends a funeral procession, no one will punish him, but he is put to gossip and ridicule. One can neglect and violate few of the folkways, but if he neglects all such folkways, he will not be accepted normally in a society. Then fifth is, folkways differ from one society to another. Different societies developed folkways in accordance to their geographical culture and social circumstances. Even the same society may have several groups practicing different folkways, and also such folkways may change with time. For example, the Chinese society have different folkways and Indian societies have different folkways. But if we take India, we see that India is divided into different states, and the folkways of different states are different. Then sixth is, folkways are uncountable. It is never possible in any society to identify the number and variety of folkways. No social act of man can escape from the boundary of folkways. Means in every behavior pattern we see some folkways. They range from brushing the teeth to washing the clothes, food habits to vocabulary, from art of decorating houses to nurturing a baby. So they are numerous. Then the last point is, folkways may change, they are never static. Some of the folkways change more rapidly than others, but some of them hardly change. Folkways, which are associated with dress, food habits, use of language, etc., change frequently. But those related to family, religion, ethnic identity, etc., they take a long time to change. So all these are the points which tell us about the nature of folkways. Now the second thing is mores. What are mores? Mores imply behavior patterns which are traditionally prescribed in a society. Mores are regarded as of great importance for maintaining social order. So they are closely linked with social order. So these mores change very slowly, and breach of mores is a punishable offense in the society. As we have seen that rare punishments are there for breaking the folkways, but breach of mores is a punishable offense. The mores are always considered right by the group that shares them. As the group members are, they have experienced something while practicing a particular folkway of the society. They feel as a whole it is right or it is wrong. So only two directions are there, either something, some mores are right or some behavior patterns are wrong. It is experienced, transformed and stereotyped, means repeated, into tradition, distorted by dominant interests and reinforced by fear or dislike of the untried. When the folkways take on a philosophy of right living and a life policy of welfare, then they become mores. So mores are also the folkways, but what happens when the folkways take on a philosophy of right living and a life policy of welfare, then those folkways become mores. So we can define mores in these words. Mores are those customs and group routines which are thought by the members of the society to be necessary to the group continued existence. It means for the continued existence of the group, it is necessary to follow the mores. And what are the mores? These are the customs and the group routines which are followed very strictly. Mores represent the normative system of a particular society, and it deals with should and should not, means either something is right, it should, and which is wrong, it should not. Davis pointed out that there are many things which are related by the Moors, like belief. Belief rationalizes them in the form of myth. Means belief represent the Moors in the form of myth. Rituals express them in the form of symbols. Then the actions. Actions embodies of the same may cause something which is called right conduct. So our society lives on Moors in the sense violation of the same may cause expulsion from the society, because it depends upon right and wrong. In Indian society, the widows are not to take fish or meat, even in the present society. Sometimes the widows may take those things in their own homes, but do not take it when a social gathering takes place. This is an example of a Moor which is strongly supported in the society, though with the changing time it is slowly being transformed. Then there are some Moors which are universally accepted and followed. Like, there are some examples. For if we have love, or it is said that one should have love for the country, it is a Moor which is strictly observed. Then reverence towards God, which is followed all over the world. Then hatred against a criminal. So all these Moors are universal, which are followed in the same manner. Again I am repeating, like love for the country, reverence towards God, hatred against criminal. So all these are the examples of Moors. The Moors may be varied in depending on the social realities. For example, one group prohibits widow remarriage, the other prescribes it, or one group considers hugging as a gesture to greet, but another group prohibits touching each other while meeting for the first time. So we cannot universalize the Moors which are accepted as right or wrong. Means to say that somewhere some Moors are right, but the same Moors might be wrong in other societies. Now let us discuss the nature and characteristics of Moors also. First, Moors regulate our social life as they are followed strictly. As Moors determine the right and wrong for the society, these have a special role to play in controlling the society and maintaining the order in society. Moors put restrictions on social behavior of man. In every society, if an individual denies Moors, he deserves complete rejection from the society. Then second is, Moors are relatively permanent. Moors are long lasting than folkways. The people believe in Moors as the main binding source of the society, and if these are changed, the fundamental fabric of the society will also change, which is not desirable. Like, austerity means simplicity or control over them is practiced by Indian widows, or the responsibility of the family fallen on the eldest son are the Moors. These are the examples. These are the Moors of Indian society, the change of which is still restricted. Means one has to follow these. Moors third point is mores vary from one group to another. Mores may be the device for social control, but these are not universally applicable for all the societies. Widow remarriage may not be allowed in one society, and staying alone after one's husband dies may be unthinkable in another society. Then, monogamy means marriage between one man and one woman. Monogamy can be the only option for one society, and polygamy means one husband, many wives, or one wife, many husbands. This is polygamy. Polygamy can be the norm for another society. So these mores vary from one society to another. And last point is values and religion establish mores. Mores are normally sanctioned and authenticated by religion. If religion supports a more, then becomes a compulsion, and most of the mores are established by religion. In Indian society, we find most of the social customs and mores are originated with religion and also maintained in the name of religion. So all these are the characteristics of mores. Now let us discuss the differences between folkways and mores. First है, mores are general in character as these are applicable on a group of people, while folkways are applicable on a smaller group of people and these are more specific in character. Second, mores generally add value to the folkways and strengthens them, while folkways are not always strengthened with values. Third, the society learns right and wrong from the mores, and for folkways do not preach anything about right or wrong for the society. Next point is violation of mores may imply social punishment, while violation of folkways may lead to wild criticism. Next, mores are effectively controlling the society. Folkways are followed by people not for fear of being rejected by the society. Mores are also positive guidelines, but folkways do not consider any responsibility. And last is, mores take a long time to change, but the folkways may change frequently. So these are the differences between folkways and mores.